This is CBS 7 News at 10. Your eye on West Texas.
Thank you, Jesus. That was the very first thing that went through my mind. It really did.
Some in Pecos County are elated at the denial of Fort Stockton Holdings' request for a water transfer permit. After years of deliberations, Fort Stockton Holdings learned today that they will not be allowed to pump water from Pecos County to Midland County, at least for now. It took the Middle Pecos Groundwater Conservation District about 45 minutes to rule on that permit. One board member mentioned motion, that is, to allow the transport of 30,000 acre-feet of water, but that motion did not carry, and a separate motion to deny the permit altogether passed unanimously.
We're disappointed by the process in that regard, and we've done our best to present the evidence that supports the granting of the application.
With Fort Stockton Holdings left dissatisfied and those against the transfer content in the ruling, what's next? CBS 7's Bo Berman has a look ahead. Bo?
The Fort Stockton water war, as it's been called, has been waged over the course of years, hearing by hearing, delay after delay. But today, the Middle Pecos Groundwater Conservation District made its position clear, ending one battle, but the war continues.
2 years of deliberations and research, etc. All 11 directors voted after deliberations, after hearing all the evidence, to unanimously deny this application in its entirety.
Both sides have invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in this dispute, and it's unlikely either side will give up. Fort Stockton Holdings can now request a reconsideration of the decision, and if that doesn't work,
then we would decide whether or not to file suit in district court.
But for now, Fort Stockton residents like Sherry Gray are relieved.
They don't need our water. It's an individual that wants the water.
However, attorney Ed McCarthy says it's actually about providing water to an ever-expanding Midland-Odessa area that desperately needs it.
Even when you do a 10% or a 20% reduction from your current demand, when you have new growth, you're adding just new thirsty folks.
And while there is a water shortage in Midland and Odessa, the Pecos County District believes the same could happen in their area if the water is taken away.
Our primary responsibilities include protecting and preserving our fresh water supply for our district, our area.
Reporting in Fort Stockton, Bo Berman, CBS 7 News.
Bo, thanks very much. Newly elected Fort Stockton Mayor Bill Lanham is weighing in on the water transfer issue as well as he takes over the helm in the city. Lanham was born in Fort Stockton and has been attending a majority of the water hearings during the past months. He says Fort Stockton Holdings failed to meet the burden of proof in the judgment.
I think it's a good decision. I think it's the only thing they could do, given the voluminous amount of information that they've been given by the applicant and all the testimony for 5 days. There's just too many questions. There's just too much risk here.
Lanham says the city will continue its partnership with the county to fight the exportation of water from Fort Stockton. More stories that are all new at 10 tonight. Victims of recent wildfires are starting to see relief thanks to many of you who gave to our CBS 7 Help Your Neighbor Fund. CBS 7's Jennifer Samp spent the day with one family who received a big surprise thanks to your generosity. Jennifer?
6 weeks after the initial devastation of the wildfires, victims who lost everything are getting homes through the Help Your Neighbor wildfire relief effort. Adon Abada shows us what used to be his home.
To my mind, I had $800 and that's all I had. And then I realized that I didn't have anything anymore.
Abada lives with spina bifida and gets only $600 a month from Social Security. Because of his ongoing medical condition, he cannot work.
As a baby, he was born with spina bifida, and his sister has helped care for him.
Jose Guyona with the Help Your Neighbor Committee says Abada has been staying with a friend, making it hard to have his own space.
He's very ready to kind of get his privacy back because of his illness that he has. It comes with some privacy concerns.
Now the Help Your Neighbor wildfire relief effort is giving Abada a new place to live.
With the initial $250,000 contribution made by ICA, and so that's where the homes are coming from.
Abada's sister, Gloria Farmer, says this is a blessing for her little brother who has been through so much. The Red Cross was there initially to help fund Abada's food, hotel stay, and medication.
Yeah! So I was very excited. Gracias. The Red Cross from the beginning has really helped out a lot. They've given him money initially for food and for clothing because he lost everything.
Now the rubble is just a memory as he begins a new life in a new home.
Just nice to see these people finally get a little bit of relief through the generosity of West Texans.
Thank you so much to everybody.
This is just one relief story that came out of this devastation. We'll have more for you in the upcoming weeks. We'd like to thank the Red Cross, Rock the Desert, who is helping coordinate the relief effort, and all of the West Texans that have helped these victims in some way. In the newsroom, Jennifer Samp, CBS 7 News.
Jennifer, thanks. ICA is the parent company of CBS 7. Now, the Red Cross initially spent just over $2,000 on Adon's case. The wildfire relief effort still needs your help. You can send your donations to the address you see on your screen. All of the money collected stays right here in West Texas to aid in the ongoing wildfire relief efforts. Make your checks payable to Wildfire Relief. This information is also up on our website. Just go to cbs7.com. More West Texas counties are taking the ban of fireworks into their own hands. Ector County's plan is similar to one already passed by Midland and several other counties. On Monday, they will take a vote to ban all fireworks sales and use, but only for 60 hours. Then Governor Rick Perry will have to extend the ban all the way through the 4th of July weekend. The governor has already approved disaster declarations for Midland and other counties in our area. Well, some evening time thunderstorms popped up at the end of this very hot summer week. So what does it look like right now? Meteorologist Juan Acuna is standing by now to let us know. Juan?
Well, Jay, things are starting to quiet down around much of the Permian Basin as we had some isolated shower activity earlier in the afternoon. So as we start you off with the pinpoint weather 4x4 radar, you can see most of the Permian Basin already quiet as we have one last storm that is just to our extreme northeastern county, and that's in portions of the Scurry County around Snyder, where that's one big thunderstorm is continuing to situate itself over. And some preliminary estimates still have the Snyder area around ½ inch of rain for the past couple of hours. So some much needed rain for those folks, but unfortunately for us here in the Odessa Midland Metro, and really not all that much at all. As we look at the morning forecast, though, clear skies for Odessa, 75, a little bit breezy with the south-southwest winds 10 to 15, as well as out in Midland. Midland will look at 73 degrees, clear skies, and out into the Big Spring area, look for 74 degrees with maybe a few high clouds lingering around much of the area. Pecos a little bit cooler in the upper 60s, 68 degrees, a south-southwest wind 5 to 10, a little bit breezier out in the Fort Stockton area. Look for a 73-degree temperature for your morning. And as we head off into Alpine, 67 degrees. And finally, Marfa looks to have a very chilly temperature, 56 degrees for you folks. So coming up a little bit later on in weather, we'll see if any more rains in the weekend, and we'll look at the 7-day forecast.
Juan, thanks very much. State representatives continue to fight to take the dune sagebrush lizard off the endangered species list. They have 6 months to conduct a survey and convince the Fish and Wildlife Service to take the lizard off the listing. Now, while not a federal matter, Congressman Mike Conaway fears the listing will hinder oil and gas drilling in West Texas and even cost some of their jobs.
It has to be science-based, and the Fish and Wildlife have said they're going to list the lizard unless we change their mind. And I don't know how confident anybody of us can be that we're actually going to change their mind.
They are using University of Texas and Texas A&M scientists to conduct that survey. Those who live near the Waste Control Specialist facility in Andrews County are being asked to take a health survey. The University of North Texas has been commissioned by state environment and health officials to assess the 24,000 people who live in a 35-mile radius of the WCS dump site. Letters encouraging these people to participate will go out within the next few days. The Texas House has sent a school finance law into conference committee with a measure that could soften the blow to public schools. Conservative lawmakers tried to strip an amendment that would allow the controller to spend unexpected money in the rainy day fund on education. The proposal says that any earnings above the forecasted $9.8 billion could automatically be sent to school districts. Democrats, though, are trying to avoid cutting $4 billion from the schools. Conference committee that includes senators and House members will now negotiate a final deal. A Latino civil rights group has joined a lawsuit to stop a Republican-drafted congressional redistricting plan. LULAC filed a motion to join a suit originally filed by the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus in San Antonio. The suit alleges that the redistricting plan diminishes the voting power of Hispanic citizens in Texas. The group testified against the new redistricting plan before the legislature and submitted an alternative map. They argue the Republican plan splits Hispanic communities so that conservative Anglos would be more likely to win seats in Congress. And Governor Rick Perry says he is considering a run for the White House. Veteran fundraisers who helped George W. Bush get elected to the nation's highest office say it doesn't matter that the governor hasn't yet capitalized on Newt Gingrich's campaign implosion. They say there is still plenty of time for a candidate to get in the race, even if he hasn't even hired a staff, raised $1, or made an official campaign trip to either Iowa or New Hampshire. In fact, they say it could become an advantage, that is, for the governor, a conservative who has never lost an election. It's hard to believe that underground slavery is happening in our own backyards. West Texas law enforcement officials, though, say our area has become a hub for human trafficking. Governor Perry recently signed 2 new bills into law creating stiffer penalties for human trafficking in the state. Midland County Sheriff Gary Painter says it usually starts near the border with people helping others get into the country illegally. The immigrants are then sold to repay the favor, often through prostitution.
They have to work off their ability to come to the United States to be free, but they're not free. They're still slaves.
Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott has even appointed Sheriff Painter to a task force on human trafficking. He has been attending conferences and workshops this past year to learn tactics to address that issue. In other news tonight, an Odessa man charged with murder and a shooting at an apartment complex in Odessa last week has had more charges filed against him. According to his attorney, Christopher Sims turned himself in to authorities and bonded out this afternoon. A charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon was added for the shooting of Timothy Acuff, who was sent to the hospital with severe stomach wounds. Sims was released on bond earlier this week when a judge reduced his bond from $1 million to $50,000. Sims is accused in the shooting death of David Joseph Bell at the Clayton Manor Apartments in Odessa on June 1st. A Midland businessman convicted with charged with scamming his customers, has now been sentenced to 10 years in prison. A jury found Alfredo Cantu guilty of theft by deception and also gave him a $10,000 fine. Evidence in his trial showed that Cantu set up a business called ABC Construction back in 2008, made promises to homeowners about work to get paid, and then abandoned several projects. Cantu has already spent time in prison for similar crimes, and there are additional charges that are pending. The trial of Winkler County Sheriff Robert Roberts continues with the testimony of former nurse Vicki Lynn Galley. Galley, along with former nurse Ann Mitchell, reported Dr. Rolando Arafiles to the Texas Medical Board anonymously back in 2009. Arafiles then went to Sheriff Roberts and complained of harassment. Roberts is accused of illegally using confidential patient files in an investigation of the nurses. The state later called Naomi Warren to the stand. She testified that she had many concerns about the medical practices of Dr. Arafiles when she worked at Winkler County Memorial Hospital in the rural health clinic. Warren later left the clinic to work in Monahans, where she received a $30,000 raise. The trial is set to continue on Monday. A man accused and convicted of having a homemade rape kit in his car still faces 3 more counts, but the Midland District Attorney says they are waiting on results from an appeal. Juan Guerra was found guilty back in April and sentenced to 20 years in prison. His defense attorney has filed an appeal on the convictions on possession of a criminal instrument with intent. The 3 other charges come from different instruments found in his car, including zip ties, ropes, and a metal pipe. A TxDOT employee from Kermit injured in a motorcycle crash during a Memorial Day celebration has passed away. Medical Center Hospital officials confirmed that 39-year-old Martin Glass died early this morning. Back on May 30th, Andrews authorities say Glass was going about 50 miles per hour on Highway 385 when they say he lost control of his bike and crashed. He was airlifted to the hospital with serious injuries. If you've been outside any of this week, you know it's been very, very hot, blistering hot days. Can we expect the same to continue through the weekend? And what about next week? Meteorologist Juan Acuna is back after the break with a look at your 7-day forecast. And later on, get a glimpse of some of the talented martial artists around the Permian Basin and beyond. You're watching CBS 7 News, your eye on West Texas.